What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to another Heart Over Height episode. Today we're going to be going over a sought-after game that a lot of people wanted to see. It was the Rockets playing the Lakers, and we're going to break it down and as well go over the Lakers-Rockets rosters and just talk about where they could land in the West and all that in their future. So if you do enjoy this kind of content, do me a huge favor, smash the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, comment down below where you see these guys falling, as well as which one of these rookies is impressing you the most so far. So with that being said, let's get right on into it. As you guys can see right here, the score ended Houston 99, Lakers 80. So a bit of a blowout there. Sheppard shined in this game with 23 points. Let's take a look at the box score real quick. So we got the Rockets right here. Biggest thing that I always like to look at, definitely plus minus is important. But just like overall shooting, of course. You know, you look at Cam Whitmore, who's a second-year player at this point, 8 for 17, 47% from the field. Three-point shots not really there tonight, but 10 rebounds and 20 points is pretty solid. Then you look at their number 3 overall pick, Sheppard, 52% from the field, 66% from 3. We like that a lot. 23 points. And then 5 assists, 4 rebounds. Like, that is what we want to see. 3 blocks, which is pretty impressive for someone of his size. Overall, you definitely can tell that Sheppard could be definitely worth that 3rd overall pick as of this game. You know, of course, in the future, we could see something different. Before we go on to the Lakers roster, I want to discuss the Houston Rockets and where they could potentially fall in the West. Right now, they have a roster of Fred VanVleet, Jalen Green, Dillon Brooks, Jabari Smith, Sengun. Off the bench, Amen Thomas, Sheppard, and Cam Whitmore here. Tari Eason, Steven Adams, with other guys like Jeff Green, Jock Landale off the bench. Now, here's what I'll say. The Rockets are definitely going to move off of Jalen Green. He doesn't seem like he's fitting their timeline, and that's where I think somebody like Cam Whitmore is starting to get lost in this rotation a bit, where he doesn't have his – I think his play style just isn't really fitting in Houston with what they're looking for. Same thing with Jalen. Jalen is a guy who needs the ball in his hand. He's a streaky scorer, kind of like a J.R. Smith-esque. And when he's hot, and he's on the, you know, he's 8 for 8 or whatever, but when he's cold, it's not looking good. J.R. Smith was a very similar way. Jordan Clarkson, very similar way. Similar mold. So I definitely think Jalen will be on the trade block, and that's where you could see a other guy like a Cam Whitmore attached with him. They could be looking at going out and getting, some sort of. I know I've heard random rumors about Sengun possibly in trade talks. I don't know how serious that is, but you could see like a Lauri Markkanen if they're looking to move off of Sengun, because you have value with Jalen Green, Cam Whitmore, etc. Now, hopefully they don't give up Amen Thomas or Sheppard. I like those guys on this roster. I think that they're very win-now players. They don't need a whole lot of time to develop from what I've seen, especially from what the Rockets need. Amen Thomas being a really good defender, Sheppard being a really good shooter. You don't need to – there's not a whole lot. You know, they definitely – Houston could use some star power here for sure. A disgruntled star, possibly the Clippers. With James Harden, we could see – him wanting to return back to Houston and kind of taking over the squad and just playing with the other vets here, Fred VanVleet and, Dillon Brooks and Jeff Green and so on. But overall, I was really impressed with Sheppard's performance. Amen Thomas, obviously playing for the USA Select team. He had solid minutes, in that scrimmage, you got a lot of solid minutes out of him. He had a nice little Euro step there. I posted a video about that. I know I kept messing his name up with Asar. It's, because they're twins, and it's just, obviously it's very easy to confuse the two. Next up, we're going to talk about the Los Angeles Lakers. With the Lakers having, of course, everyone knows Bronny James and Dalton Knecht as the highlights of their draft and of this offseason, because let's be honest, the only move that they have made besides drafting these two is re-signing Max Christie, right? So you re-sign Max Christie, you draft these two, and I guess you hire J.J. Redick as well. So let's talk about these guys. LeBron, Bronny James had a pretty rough game here. from what you see shooting-wise. 21% from the field, 0 for 8 from 3 is not going to cut it in the league. Up -9. Now, 8 points, 2 steals. You got to cut down these turnovers, especially in Summer League. It doesn't seem like he fouls a ton, which is solid. He's a good defender. 5 rebounds, the 2 steals right there, right? Like I just said. He just needs to develop that offensive side of the ball. And once that is developed, I think he'll be okay. I think he's already a serviceable backup, like Davion Mitchell-esque, where there were some games he wasn't going to play. Then there were games where he was going to play a lot more because they needed his defense. I think Bronny's fitting into that role right now. I see his ceiling as Drew Holiday, that floor being that Davion Mitchell player. And if he could fall somewhere in between, I think offensively he can develop the skills of like Tyus Jones, pass first point guard, not looking to score, and then but defensively, I mean, he's a good defender. He can stay in front of his man. He can cause some turnovers, and solid defender. And on the Lakers roster right now, right, he's in that similar mold of Davion Mitchell, third string listed on ESPN, but there's going to be some games where Gabe Vincent just ain't really there. He's not shooting the ball well, or they don't need him to be playing a lot because they need a defender. Same thing with D'Lo. D'Lo's also on the trade block, so that could move up things for Gabe Vincent, Bronny James, Other guys on this roster, obviously you have number one options in LeBron and Anthony Davis. Austin Reeves being a solid third option or so. Max Christie being a solid shooter there. Dalton Knecht, of course, a good shooter. So you have Bronny there that can just develop into just a playmaker. He don't need to score the ball. Mike Conley, Rajon Rondo, Chris Paul, right? Like that's, of course, huge leaps, like a pretty big leap he needs to take. But I'm talking about where he could go. Dalton Knecht, though, solid game out of him. I like what I saw from him a lot. 50% from the field on a lot of shots, 18 shots, 11 threes, 45% from 3. That's exactly what you're looking for. 25 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists. Now, his struggle is going to be defensively. They kind of have the opposite need. Dalton needs to work on his defense. Bronny needs to work on his offense, right? There was a play there where Dalton Knecht kind of got cooked by Reed Sheppard. And it's going to happen. He's going to fit in that mold of the J.J. Redick, the Kyle Korver, Mike Miller-esque. Maybe a little more, with more ability to attack the basket. So maybe you throw in like a Tyler Hero-esque there for Dalton Knecht comparison. Because he and all those guys, their biggest problem is defense, right? But they're so good offensively that it kind of balances out, I don't think he's a terrible, terrible defender. I mean, he was still able to get 1 block, 1 turn, or 1 steal. That's solid. Where he fits in this roster, right, is he's probably going to fit more in the 2 spot, more splitting minutes with Max Christie for the backup shooting guard. I kind of see that more for him versus a small forward because you do have Jared Vanderbilt, Cam Reddish. Those guys are going to be probably filling in your backup spot up minutes more. But yeah, overall, I think that this roster is solid. Is it championship contending? I mean, of course, with LeBron and Anthony Davis, it's always going to be championship contending, and they could be dangerous. I just don't see this roster is quite there yet. I also think that there's a asterisk right next to this team right now because D'Lo is still on the roster, and I don't think that he'll be on the roster too much longer. Now, it depends. It's like if you're a player, right, we can talk about Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson chose not to go to the Lakers for a reason. He chose to go over to Dallas. And he said that it just doesn't Dallas was a better fit for him. I think realistically what he's saying is I didn't want to go and play in Los Angeles because instantly when changes are happening, they're instantly the ones to blame. You look at coaches, players, etc. that get blamed for everything instead of just letting it ride and letting them grow as an organization. They're always making moves. You know, you look at like championship teams, the Nuggets, the Warriors, the Celtics, all of them have drafted or traded and developed. The Lakers aren't doing that, right? Like the bubble team that won the championship, the only people still on this roster are LeBron and Anthony Davis. They had Kyle Kuzma, who's a good fit for them. They had Rondo. They had all these guys, and they went and started name chasing Russell Westbrook. They went and got D'Angelo Russell, and it's just like, you need to start understanding that at some point you got to start developing. Now, and the good thing too about the Lakers is they can develop. They've proven Lonzo Ball, Kyle Kuzma, Alex Caruso, players like that, Austin Reeves, they can develop. They just haven't. I guess Austin Reeves, Max Christie, who knows what we'll get out of Dalton, Knecht, and Bronny. And we'll end on this point. I do want to say that J.J. Redick himself, I think he's going to be something really good for the Lakers if they give him enough time to develop that. That is always the biggest thing with the Lakers. Will the fans, will the organization, GM, all of them, give J.J. Redick enough time to learn? It's his first time ever being a coach. He's going to need some time to adjust. Just as Jason Kidd did when he first came in the league. When he was coaching the Bucks, it was a pretty big mess there, right? He goes over to Dallas, and now look at him. He's got a championship contending roster. So, with that being said, guys, if you did enjoy this content, again, do me a huge favor. Subscribe to the channel on the road to 12K. Be sure to drop a comment down below your favorite player of these two rosters that you're looking forward to watching next season, whether it's Dalton, Knecht, Bronny, or Reed Sheppard, Cam Whitmore, or somebody else. And then, of course, always like the video. So, it's been another Heart Over Height, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.